Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh and Rahakwa. Double honors to the elders who will and push this word in truth and sincerity. Peace and salutations to the hopeful that push this word across the four corners of the earth. Dear Akwathi, I'm listening, I'm running silent to these last days. It's Brother Yadai for the DC Church and Lord's Will. This video will be edifying, short, and straight to the point. Now, I'm going to entitle this video America is Babylon the Great, that it mentions. We're going to start here in Revelation 18 and 3, and just the many ways that we identify in the scriptures, economically, its characteristics of what America be like, look like. But starting here in Revelation 18 and 3, it says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." We identify here Babylon as America. And one way that we identify that is economically, because here it states that all nations become rich through Babylon's trade. When you look at America, where do all nations get rich at? Trading with America. You can even look at the stats. But it says Babylon, which is known as a superpower, whose economy basically runs this world and influences the world. The American dollar is the strongest dollar, even though it's falling. And other nations are starting to form their own, I'll say their own confederacy of trying to build their own thing. But the American dollar is still right now. It is collapsing, but it just means that global commerce it flows through the system that Babylon has established, known as the beast system. But another way to identify it is many different people will be in. You look at Revelation 17:15, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Babylon, which is known as America, is a nation of many peoples, different ethnicities, I should say. All right. So Babylon sits on many waters, which is known as many peoples and nations from around the world. Many people come to America, you can even say, to make their quote unquote dreams come true. But since many people are coming from across the world, that's why we call it a melting pot society. It's from every ethnicity, like I said before. That's a character that's more so describes modern day Babylon, right? There's a lot of immigrants, meaning people from out of other lands, are going to be coming in here. Okay. We go to Revelation 18 and 7. This is also known for its luxury and excess. But it says, "How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, am no widow, and shall see no sorrow." All right? It's like you. But Babylon is described as living deliciously because of wealth and the luxury that it has. And it's untouched. It hasn't really been touched like that until now. More so right now, we're seeing the humiliation. Okay. But remember Esau's blessing. Okay. He has the fatness of the earth. So when you realize that this system is established up top, well, look at his blessing right here. When you look at Genesis 27, we'll read 37 and 38. And it said, "Then Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine I have sustained him." Like actually, no, 38 and 39. And it says, "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me even so also, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, "Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, and thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." Okay, so he has the fatness of the earth, meaning he's wealthy, he's living in luxury, and by the way of sword is how he obtained these things as well. Again, his blessing. So through rob, steal, kill, deceit, murder, shedding blood, war, captivity. All these things are things that he's done to obtain it. Right? He's a wicked man. But that's why I want to link it up with this. Job 9 and 24 says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Well, if that's his blessing to receive the fatness of the earth, this is his season that he's enjoying for this time being. But he sees that it's coming to an end. Why he's coming down with great wrath. All right. But it says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered up the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and that wicked man is Esau Edom. Who you want to look at as nowadays? Your so-called white folks, but not your everyday white folk, because again, we're scattered abroad. You might have some Israelites that maybe look like so-called white people, right? But we're talking about those top banking elite families, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, but they're all disguised as other banking families, as other businesses and things like that too. They hide behind the shadows. They don't show their faces. But when you look at Babylon, it's a wealthy nation and a society filled with consumerism and entertainment. What do you see today in America? If anything, you probably see it at its peak because it has to distract from all the news that's going on right now. But the prosperity this nation is experiencing is only temporary because all this, all the things that you're seeing right now is all a sign of judgment to come. Okay. Um, Also, America has a large global influence as well. Okay. Let me go back to Revelation 18 and move it on to 23. Actually, I'm going to read 22 and 23, but that's all coming down. But it says, "And the voice of the harpers and musicians, and of the pipers and trumpets and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." Okay, so Babylon's merchants are the great men of the earth, and they deceive the nations through their media, through their technology, through their culture, all just to dominate the whole world, right? But when you look at their philosophies, it talks about the Skittles nation, you know? It talks about do what you want to do, worshiping other gods with the many other gods that they bring into here and say just worship whoever you want. The dietary laws, the things they eat, the things that they touch, the way they dress, everything they do. It's just opposite of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, you know? But it's so influential to other nations that they're even starting to pick up the ways. Now, maybe not the other nations as a whole, but there's a lot of people within those nations that like America. That's why when I mentioned earlier, they come here to make their quote unquote dreams come true because they have a false sense of freedom. They give you a false sense of freedom here and think you can do whatever you want. But that's the broad way that's going to lead you to destruction. All right. You don't want to walk that way. Let me go to Revelation 17 and 5. And it says, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon." So, mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. It's exactly what you see here. All this immorality, idolatry, it's called the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth. It's everything that the Lord hates. It's here. Okay. And this whole society just gushes out corruption and false religions worldwide, and it brings about a lot of confusion. That's what Babylon means, land of confusion. And all these other nations or the people within it, they start to follow that direction. All right. Now I want to get this one too, because just another characteristic of how we know. Now this is talking about the ancient Roman ways and how they had their government structure set up in the first Maccabees, the eighth chapter. Well, you're going to see all the similarities here in America as well. But First Maccabees 8 and 15 says, moreover, how they had made for themselves a Senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting all way for the people, to the end they might be well ordered, and that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them. Okay? Well, let's get this. Initially designed as modern successor of Roman Republic. It's talking about what the United States government is in many ways. Here's the core similarities, like I mentioned in the scriptures: the Senate, representative, The tripartite system, the checks and balances, legislative, judicial, executive branches, all the same things that they established in the ancient Roman government is established here in the United States government. But it's just more ways of pointing out that this is America that it mentions in the scriptures. It's just not going to come out and say it. But those who are meant to understand, the Lord is going to give that understanding too. That you're either going to hear or you're going to forbear. But another important I want to bring out too, go back in Revelation 18, 8 and 10, 8 through 10. All right. So it says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her. And they shall see the smoke of her burning. So why would the nations be lamenting for her? For what? Because they made a lot of money off of this bitch. Now it's gone. How they gonna do that now? Okay? Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Okay, so that's talking about Babylon's sudden destruction. That rapid destruction that's going to be coming, through warfare, that nuclear warfare, and the laser from the chariots, which is the so-called UFOs they talk about, right? But the speed at which it's going to collapse is greatly emphasized. What does it say? In 1 hour by fire. But that's when that salvation and destruction go hand in hand. That's when Yahweh Shai is going to be cracking those clouds to make these things happen. Because he got to come get his elect from this destruction, So we can be looking down through the eyeglass at the lake of fire, right? And Lord willing, I'm part of that number to be delivered right up there with the brothers, okay? And the men, women, and children, one third, okay? But ultimately, America is known as Babylon the Great, and it's already risen as the final empire. And it's running a beast system that controls all global economics right now. Okay. But eventually, all these paths that's happening are going to lead to the MOTB, known in Revelation 13 and 16, the mark of the beast, where you can't buy or sell and participate in commerce unless you receive that mark. Okay. Now, it's not being enforced, but it's here. All right. But in the midst of all these things happening right now, we're at the early stages of Jacob's trouble and the World War III. Okay. But after all these prophecies come to pass, we're gonna be, we just have to endure, our trial for this little season right now. And then when Yahushua returns to crack the clouds, with the angels, that's when Babylon is gonna be decimated, okay? But understand that salvation and destruction go hand in hand. Remember, the scripture says the righteous will scarcely make it. So it's gonna be tough, but we will be delivered. Okay. That's all I got right there, man. Hopefully it was edifying and it made sense. And again, it was just identifying that Babylon is identified as America. And this, well, America is identified as Babylon in the scriptures. But again, I want to give all praises, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shem, Rachak, double honors to the elders and apostles of great millstone who rule well and push this word in truth and sincerity. Next one.